Hi, I'm Brian M, and welcome to Beta Switch Gaming. Today we are going to type the different types of Nintendo Switch games that are playable on the Nintendo Switch 2 console. So what I have right now are three different type of games that I'll be using as an example later on. And these three types are the full Switch 2 cartridges, for example, the Cyberpunk 2077. And second is the most infamous one after the Switch 2 release is the Game Key card. And the third one is the Switch 1 game but has this Nintendo Switch 2 edition upgrade. So let's dive into it. So before we try all these three games on the Nintendo Switch 2, let's discuss further on what are the pros or the advantage and disadvantages of each. So first one, we have the Switch 2 Cartridge edition. For example, the Cyberpunk 2077 on my hand. So the Switch 2 Cartridge edition is the one that contains the full game in one cartridge. So it doesn't differ on the Switch 1 games before. All the data of the game is within this specific cartridge. So there is no or only a minimal download needed for the game to be played on Nintendo Switch 2. And it also has all the full goodies in one package. So that is the advantages on a consumer or gamer perspective. So we don't have to actually expand our Nintendo Switch 2 memory if we're just gonna have cartridge type of games on Switch 2. The disadvantage of these types of games on Nintendo Switch 2 is it has a much higher price compared to the other new Switch 2 games. Now for the Cyberpunk 2077, I believe it has 64 gig of data on one cartridge, and it costs here around 3,200 pesos, which is translated to around 55 to 60 US dollars. So it costs much higher compared to the other Switch 2 games. So that is the downside I can see on this game type on Switch 2. So next one, we have the infamous Game Key card. So this one, it has the physical thing you can buy, and it also has the physical game cartridge. This one, it has the physical game cartridge, but in order for you to play this game, you have to download it within the Nintendo system using your Nintendo Switch 2. Nintendo actually went to that route to help different publishers to put their game on the Nintendo Switch 2 console because it has lower manufacturing costs. They can simply just put the game on the Nintendo system and users can actually play it by just downloading the game. And the reason why Nintendo actually went through the physical version of that downloadable content is that for the gamers or consumers to sell the game after they're done with it or if they are ready to let go of it. So that is the difference between the Game Key card and the virtual type of games that you can just download on the Nintendo Switch 2 system. For the Game Key cards, you can resell it. For those that are digitally just downloaded within the eShop, it is just installed on your system and you cannot sell it anymore. Another advantage of the Game Key cards is that it's much cheaper for the consumers. For example, this Wild Hearts S game, it only costs around 2,395. So it is at least 45 to 50 USD dollars compared to the Cyberpunk 2077 that cost me around 55 to 60 dollars. So that is the price difference and advantages and disadvantages between the game cartridge and the Game Key cards. But personally, I'd buy the physical one even if it costs on a much higher price, because at least this one I own the game license and the game itself physically. Unlike for the Game Key card types, well, technically we own the digital license after buying the physical Game Key card. But in order for us to play the game itself, we still have to download it on the Nintendo Switch 2 system within the Nintendo database. So it's kind of a mixed ownership. Like we own it physically, but the game is technically stored digitally. But yeah, in summary, I still prefer the physical game. I mean, if Cyberpunk 2077 was able to put 64 gigabytes of game within one cartridge, how hard is it to put, like, I think this is around 40 gig only? Just put it in a physical cartridge. Come on, just stop doing game key cards, Nintendo, please. Anyway, the last one is the Nintendo Switch game with Nintendo Switch 2 edition. So I have here the Shadow Labyrinth, for example. So for this one, this is the Switch 1 game edition. So once I've put the cartridge on the Nintendo Switch 2 system, if the game has an available Switch 2 edition on the system, Nintendo Switch 2 will prompt that specific feature to download. And for the Shadow Labyrinth, I believe it has a free Switch 2 upgrade. Now for the other similar games like this one, for example, Hogwarts Legacy and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, they have the Switch 2 edition upgrade, but you have to pay it separately. Like, you have to pay and download the Switch 2 edition for $10 on Nintendo eShop. That's the bummer part of the Nintendo Switch 2 edition. But on the new games, I think most of the publishers are doing the free Switch 2 edition upgrade, just like what Shadow Labyrinth is doing. So let's hope that more publishers will do the same. Okay, so let's start loading each of the games. So first one, we have the Cyberpunk 2077. Okay, so we have the physical cartridge here. I'll put it on the camera so you can see it. And we have the different rewards. Oh, we also have different stickers for Cyberpunk. That is nice. See, these are the perks of having a physical version of the game. Okay, let's put this one aside first. Let's load it on my Nintendo Switch 2 system. Let's put it on the system. And there you have it, as instant as it is for the Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition. So we'll wait for the download to finish. It only is around 3 minutes before we can play the actual game. Alright, so the download is now complete. We are looking at the Cyberpunk 2077 intro.
Poking holes in the power grid.
Dude, it looks so good. Okay, so it's giving me a Nomad, Street Kid, and Corpo. Okay, I'm skipping this for now, since the goal is just to test different cartridges. And just like the other physical cartridge games, if you pulled out the cartridge in the Nintendo Switch 2 system, the game will not be playable. So you have to put the cartridge back. Let's try the infamous Wild Hearts S. Oh my god, it's so plain. It's so boring. Anyway. Oh wait, hold on. Before we put it in, let's put out the differences on each cartridge. So it doesn't have any difference actually, like physical wise. The only difference is on the label. So for the physical ones, it just has Switch 2 and the title of the game and the game code, I think, and the license code, I think, and the game cartridge has a Switch 2 logo with a key icon beside the logo. So that is the only difference between the physical cartridge and the game key card. Alright, so it prompted me. To use this game key card, you'll need to download data. Even after the data has been downloaded, the game key card will need to remain inserted in the system to play the game. So it still acts like a physical cartridge, but I still have to download the game digitally. What's the point, Nintendo? What's the point? Anyway, let's download it and see how long would it take for the Philippine internet to actually download the game. Let's check. So it prompted me around 25 minutes left. Alright, it's done downloading. Let's try playing the game. This is the Wild Hearts S using the game key card.
A few moments later.
Sorry. That was so long. You know, Nintendo said that the feature for the game keycard is that it's much faster than the regular game cartridge, but looking at that cartridge loading time, it wasn't actually an improved one. So
a few moments later.
It was nice, especially in handheld mode. Alright, let's close this app now since our goal is just to test the cartridge. Alright, let's take it out and then let's see if it actually notifies me that I cannot play the game if the cartridge isn't inserted on the Nintendo Switch 2. So the cartridge is out. Let's try clicking the game again. So it shows me the message that I have to insert the game card before I can play the game. So just as expected for the game keycard, it acts like a physical cartridge, but the game is downloaded digitally. And last one, we have the Shadow Labyrinth Nintendo Switch game. So let's try opening it. Wow, it has the original arcade sound effects DLC. That is nice. I hope I didn't show the download code. Please don't steal it from me. Get the Nintendo Switch game out. Wow, it looks sleek. Looks real nice. Has the game cartridge for Nintendo Switch has always been black? Can't remember. So I'm using the Cyberpunk as a physical difference, so it doesn't have any difference in size at all. It just has a different logo on the top of the cartridge. So the Switch 2 has the Switch 2 logo, and the Nintendo Switch 1 game has the default Nintendo Switch logo. Let's try putting in the game on my Nintendo Switch 2 console. Alright, and in an instant, there is the Nintendo Switch game. Let's try clicking it. And it says a new update is available. So let's try downloading the update. It has a big file size update though. It's like 10 minutes left. So I'm thinking maybe this is a Switch 2 upgrade. Let's double check. Alright, it's done downloading now. Let's try to open it. Let's see if it is the Switch 2 edition. No, it isn't. It didn't show the Switch 2 edition. So it has quite a chunk of download before playing the game. Okay, it says checking for downloadable content. Agree. No, it doesn't show the Switch 2 edition. Hold on. Let me try going to the Nintendo eShop for a bit. Right. So you have to go to the eShop first after inserting the cartridge because it doesn't automatically upgrade my Shadow Labyrinth Nintendo Switch 1 to the Switch 2 edition. So it shows here the upgrade pack, the free download for the Shadow Labyrinth. So I just have to click it and select free download. And then you've selected this title's upgrade pack for purchase. So continue. Let's try taking the free download and then continue shopping. Let's go back on the home page. It's successfully loaded for the upgrade pack. Alright, let's try opening it. Wait, do I have to have it digitally for the upgrade pack? and not the cartridge? Whoa, that's an epic fail. If that is the case. So I cannot upgrade the physical one to the Switch 2 edition. Interesting. Okay, I think that's an epic fail for this test. So for the upgrade of the Nintendo Switch 2 edition for this game, I have to have it digitally. And the only available physical edition right now that I can check on different shops is this version. So I thought it could be potentially upgraded to the Switch 2 edition once I have the physical one. That sucks. Alright, so let's have a summary of what happened today. So for the Cyberpunk 2077, didn't had any issue loading it on Nintendo Switch 2. It has the full game. It loaded quite fast and it looks very nice on Nintendo Switch 2 in handheld mode. So next one we have the Wild Hearts S, which is a game key card. Well, I actually didn't had any issues, so I just had to wait for at least 30 minutes before I can play the game. But all in all, I think it runs smoothly. I didn't have any problem downloading the game, and yeah, it plays smooth on the Nintendo Switch 2 console actually, even in handheld mode. And then last one, for the Shadow Labyrinth, the Nintendo Switch 1, it didn't had... Well, I didn't have any problem loading it on my Nintendo Switch 2 console, but the Switch 2 Upgrade Edition seems like only applies to the digital copy and not when you own it physically. Now that's one bummer again. And I didn't see any Switch 2 edition for the Shadow Labyrinth, like the physical one to buy on any stores. It only had this one, so I bought it and I thought I can just download the upgrade pack. Maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. Maybe I'll just upload another video just to double check if that is the case, or what happens to us who bought the physical game and yearning for the Switch 2 edition. Let's see. I'll try to research more. Now that's a warning. If you want to have the Switch 2 edition, you have to just buy it digitally and not the physical one, just to be sure. Anyway, I think that's it. After testing the 3 games, hit like and subscribe for more gaming content like this one. Thank you and bye-bye!